of drone attacks suggests that Ukraine is set for its worst winter yet. At the same time, as the analyst writes, there are growing signs that in addition to the Iranian-developed Shaheeds, Russia is using at least 3 other types, some of which are supplied directly from China. The heart of the attack is the Shahed 136, known in Russia as the Geran-2, an Iranian-designed attack drone. The Shahed is slower, less powerful and easier to shoot down than traditional cruise missiles, but it costs far less and can be produced on a large scale. Russia, however, has been continually modifying the basic Shahed. New versions have at least 3 types of warheads, and some are equipped with 4G modems that communicate via Ukraine's cellular network. Most recently, a Shahed was discovered with a Starlink link. They have also recently been coated in black paint to make them less visible at night. The Wall Street Journal estimates that Russia intends to produce 500 Shaheeds per month. However, the number of drones currently being launched suggests that other types are now in use. Italmas drones are several types of drones produced by Airsokan. Product 54 is a loitering munition with a range of over 200 kilometers. Product 52 and Product 53 are 2 versions of the Lancet tactical kamikaze drone, and Product 55 is a jammable FPV kamikaze. Images of another new Russian drone appeared on social media in July. It is also smaller than the Shahed and has a different configuration. According to the Russians, the new drone is called the Gabura and can perform reconnaissance or diversionary missions in addition to kamikaze attacks. Given that the Gabura was shot down near Kyiv, it can fly at least several hundred kilometers. Ukrainian sources suggest that the Gabura's primary role is as a diversionary maneuver. The most worrisome new drone is the Garpia 3, the analyst notes. According to Reuters, the Garpia 3 was developed by a subsidiary of Russia's state-owned arms company, Almaz-Antey, and has a range of about 2,000 kilometers with a 50-kilogram warhead. Not only does the Garpia 3 use Chinese components, it will also be manufactured in a factory in China, according to Reuters. If China does use its drone manufacturing capacity to supply Russia with strategic weapons, the number of drones will be limited only by Russia's ability to pay for them. Gambling notes. Ukraine has been successfully repelling attacks by 400 to 600 Shaheeds per month, but repelling twice or 3 times that number with dwindling stockpiles of surface-to-air missiles will be a more difficult task. In addition to the fact that a record sum for war has been allocated in Russia's budget for next year, total censorship is developing there, the leaders of the Russian opposition are being eliminated, human rights activists, independent journalists and public figures are being persecuted, and criticism of the government is being banned, former advisor to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, Sergei Kuzan, tells The Telegraph. He notes that all these processes make democratic methods of changing power in the Kremlin impossible. Work is already underway to prepare a possible successor who would suit all the influence groups, so even in the event of Putin's sudden death, without additional factors and changes within Russia, we should not expect a change of regime. Kuzan emphasizes that the Russian opposition does not have a strong leader and the ability to exert serious influence on changing the situation in the country, which is well understood by officials in the Kremlin. According to him, the current domestic problem for the Russian government is the activities of partisans, the recruitment of security forces by Ukraine, and the activities of Russian volunteer formations fighting against the Putin regime. These are not just show trials. They bring real results, contributing both to the reduction of Russia's military potential and to the creation of preconditions for further changes in Russia itself, Kuzan says. As the former advisor to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense notes, it is the army and other security structures of Russia that form the backbone of Putin's authoritarian regime, which is why the main intelligence directorate of Russia, GUR, is betting on such processes, having a network of agents in the Russian armed forces and other state and security structures of the system. Kuzan recalls how a career Russian officer, Daniil Alfarov, was recruited in 2023. This man convinced 11 Russian servicemen to surrender to the Ukrainian armed forces, and in August 2024, as a result of a successful operation codenamed Reeds, the headquarters of enemy officers was blown up, and the executor of the operation, a Russian officer, subsequently went over to the side of Ukraine, the material says. The media also reported various acts of sabotage on Russian territory, including sabotage on the railway and the blowing up of bridges used to transport military cargo. On April the 8th, 2024, the GUR announced sabotage on board the Russian small missile ship Serpukhov of Project 21631 Buyan M, as a result of which the communication and automation systems were destroyed. The ship, a carrier of the Kinzhal and Onyx cruise missiles, was at the Russian naval base in Baltiysk, Kaliningrad Oblast, and according to the main intelligence directorate, could have been deployed to reinforce the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The details of the operation were kept secret for several months. The explosion on the ship was carried out by a former Russian sailor at the Baltic Fleet under the pseudonym Goga, who had access to state secrets. Note Kuzan. He believes that the facts of the presence of Russians in the Ukrainian armed forces and the recruitment of Russian servicemen by Ukrainian intelligence not only undermine the Russian propaganda thesis about Nazism in Ukraine, but also serve as an example for other Russian military personnel who do not agree with the actions of the Kremlin.